Hi everyone, this is my fifth and final inquiry lesson. The lesson is from Picture Perfect Science Lessons, this book, Chapter 17, The Changing Moon. The accompanying books are Rise the Moon by Eileen Spinelli, The Moon Book by Gail Gibbons. I find her last name kind of appropriate because when the moon is waxing and waning, it is called a gibbous, so I just thought that was kind of funny. And Papa, Please Get the Moon for Me. All of these books are available at your local library. The grade level expectation for fourth grade concepts and skills students must master is number 1, Earth is part of the solar system, which includes the sun, moon, and other bodies that orbit the sun in predictable patterns that lead to observable paths of objects in the sky seen from Earth. C. Gather, analyze, and interpret data about the moon movements and phases. Then there also lists some inquiry questions. What are the patterns of movement for the sun and moon across the sky? And those inquiry questions are in the standards for the Colorado State. I have to say this was a really fun lesson. My unit for this class is on the solar system, and I'm definitely going to include parts of this lesson plan in my unit plan. For Engage, I will introduce and read Rise the Moon. Our text suggests turning down the lights and playing a CD of night animal sounds, which I attempted to do with the animal sounds drowned out my voice on the recording. After reading Rise the Moon, I will ask some questions such as, does the moon really pull the ocean? And in Rise the Moon, right here, and oh, the sleepy sailor on the swaying schooner knows, it is the pull of moon by which the ocean comes and goes. There's also a section in the Moon Book where it says the moon affects the oceans too. The moon's pull, called gravity on the ocean, is strong enough to cause tides. Tides are the daily rising and falling of the ocean's water. This is because the moon takes about 25 hours to come back to the same place in the sky it was the night before. Tide differences vary around the world. Another question is, where does the moonlight come from? Is the moon visible only at night? And I wonder what makes the moon look different sometimes. Then we move on to Explore. This is where I will share my moon journal and explain that each of the students are going to have the chance to make a moon journal. The text has a moon journal in the back, and the students can do that. However, I pulled a moon watch flip book off the internet. It was at amnh.org, and it's just has a little more detail. You can put dates and time that you observed, weather, and different comments. So I thought this one was a little bit better. I'd invite the students to look at that. I'd explain it to the kids, and then I would say you're going to have a chance to make a moon journal too. The moon flip book, every night at the same time we look for the moon. Some nights the moon was shrouded in clouds, but the glow was still there. Other nights during the new moon, we could not see the moon at all. We watched every night for a month, and we went through and showed what we saw. This part of the lesson takes about a month to witness the moon through an entire cycle. The text suggests introducing the flipbook before the actual unit begins, so students can be completing the moon journal during the part of the unit, because the unit's not a month long, so they're certainly going to need to be doing that ahead of time. There are also some questions from the text for the Explore phase, such as, was the moon the same shape each time you saw it? Did you see the moon every time you looked for it? Was the moon the same place in the sky each time you saw it? On a cloudy night, how can you tell if the moon is still there? And that's where we said, even though we couldn't see the moon completely, we still knew it was there because there was a glow. Next, we would move to the Explain phase. The day before this activity, the text suggests the teacher assigns the moon survey page as homework. This is the moon survey page. It's in the back. As you discuss the results of the survey the following day, you can ask, how did people feel about answering the questions? What are some of the answers you received? Are there any questions that you think aren't correct? The next part of the lesson was fun moon modeling. Stop.
It's full. It's a goose.
Caleb's head is annoying. Hold the moon up a little bit higher, Jackie. Tried to model how the moon would look during the different phases, but it's kind of hard to videotape because you'll notice there is a section where there's a little bit of glare on the camera. But with students' faces toward a lamp, have them hold a ball slightly above their head, so they have to look up a little bit to see the ball. In this position, students cannot see the lit side of the ball. This is called a new moon. Tell students to turn their bodies slightly to the left while still looking at the ball, holding it a little above their head. They should turn until they see a crescent moon, and then they'll continue around in the circle. They'll see the quarter moon, which actually looks like half of the moon. Then they'll see the waxing gibbons, the waning gibbous, etc. At this point, there are more questions for the teacher to ask the students, such as, where does the moon's light come from? And I had my boys look at that, and they said the moon's light comes from the sun, and it's a reflection, so I thought that was pretty simple. Next, I would read the moon book. But before reading the book, I will have the students complete the moon book extended anticipation guide, included also in the lesson material, which is here. You'll notice it says, before reading, do you agree or disagree to the questions? And then after reading, do you agree or disagree? And then the explanations from the reading. And the reading is definitely, it's not like a storybook. It's definitely a factual book about the different phases of the moon. As you read the book, the text suggests asking students to raise their hand when they hear an answer to one of the questions. After the discussion, give students the phases of the moon student page and have them use the information they learned from the moon phases model and the moon book to label and order the moon pictures. A side note, I found a really fun interactive site. It's called scienceworld.ca. And I will post that site with my script because it was really a great site, and I wish that I could play it online and show you guys how it looks. But these are the phases of the moon page, and then there's the Papa, Please Get the Moon For Me retelling book, and there's just all these different Papa, Please Get the Moon For Me retelling book part 2, moon phases quiz, which I will use in the end, and that's about it. The next phase is elaborate and evaluate. I will read the book, Papa, Please Get the Moon For Me. This is an Eric Carle book. I know with me and my kids, I have read zillions of Eric Carle books. My favorite is The Hungry Caterpillar. But there's a scene in this book where the dad gets a ladder so he can go get the moon from the sky for his daughter. The text suggests explaining to the class that this book was not written as a science book and ask them to listen for anything that might be scientifically incorrect. If they see or hear something they feel is incorrect, they should raise their hand and explain their reasoning. For instance, the ladder could not reach the moon does not change in size, and the moon cannot talk. Give the students the moon phase quiz on page 261 as an assessment. And that's about it for this lesson. It's very complete. Again, these books are really easy to get from the library, or if you have them in your collection, awesome. Anyway, I really enjoyed this lesson. I feel it's directly linked to Colorado state standards and Common Core standards for science. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.